This week on the show, we're looking at where the Fast and the Furious is headed, a big-ass shark and an old villain return, expensive as hell TV shows, the Predator goes to court, something exotic, and more right here on the JARcast Movie Podcast. Welcome everyone to episode 14 of the JARcast Movie Podcast. I'm Jake, your host from Jacob Anders Reviews, and I got quite a few stories to go over this week that I think you guys will be interested in. So without any further ado, let's jump into our first story, which is the Fast and the Furious is coming to an end, and they're going to space. Last year, Fast 9 was one of the first tentpole movies to be delayed by the coronavirus pandemic and pushed back again and again and again. But amid all those delays, director Justin Lin got the chance to contemplate the future of the Fast and Furious franchise, which was due to end with the 10th movie. I didn't know that. However, in October 2020, Universal announced that the Fast saga would end with the 11th movie. Also directed by Lin, which he describes to The Hollywood Reporter as the final part in a trilogy of films starting with Fast 9. I was thinking of it as one chapter. It became very clear to me that if we're going to do that, we were going to need some real estate. To the studio's credit, they were like, yeah, let's do it. That's what we've been doing since I've been back, processing it as almost like a trilogy as a final chapter. He's currently in the process of writing the final 2 installments, telling Variety, "It's consistently writing and talking. It's what I love. Every time I do one of these, it's always a new challenge. And this one, it was just one film. I know we've been talking about the final chapter for about 10 years, and now we're starting to see it come to life. It's very gratifying. We've been talking about it for so long. So far, so good. It's feeling like it's the right feel, it's the right move, it's on the right track." However, he also nixed the prospect of finishing the script in time to shoot Fast and Furious 10 and 11 by this year. Probably not this year, Lin said. "I'm not quite sure when. You never have enough time and development for these types of films. Even though I think there's some ideas, I don't think we're going to be shooting this year." Lin teased to Deadline that any character in any situation is up for discussion, including the stars of the spin-off films Hobbs and Shaw. Films? It's just one film at this point, unless they have another one coming that I don't know about. Anyway, Dwayne Johnson and Jason Statham, he told the outlet, "I never really considered them gone, To me, they're still in this universe. They're part of this family." Yeah, tell Vin Diesel that. Whatever we do, whenever we're talking about the next chapter, I never feel like I have any restrictions, so I'm excited for what we build, and as we're coming to this kind of final chapter of this saga, I think I'm excited to revisit. So, yeah, the Fast and the Furious is going away, I guess. They're going to finally end this thing. I didn't think they ever would. Quite honestly, I thought they were just going to milk this thing for as much as they possibly could, which that may be 11 movies, I don't know, but or 12 if you include Hobbs and Shaw, because that was just a Fast and Furious movie without all the characters. But I think this is good that they have an actual trajectory. They have a plan of where they're going, because while I've enjoyed the last few Fast and Furious films, I can't really say that each film's been very self-contained. I mean, they are typically retroactively connecting the next movie to the last film. I never have really felt like they're looking forward to the next film. There's been little things here and there, like Jason Statham showing up in the end of one of them, I don't remember. Things like that, yeah, but I've never felt like they had like this greater vision of where this series was going. But I mean, that was fine. These are throwaway, trash, fun movies. I do agree with that. I do say that these are fun movies, especially since the 5th installment. The past 4 movies in this franchise have been batshit crazy insane. That's when they finally just accepted the fact that that's what they were, is just like crazy over the top movies, and they've had great success since then. Fast 5 is one of the best ones in the series, and all of them since then have been really entertaining. Apparently in the latest trailer, I didn't do a reaction because it came out the day after I did the podcast last week, I think, but they go to space, or at least they're headed to space. I don't know if they go there or not, but it is said, I don't think they said it in this this article specifically, but I was reading another article where within one of those movies, yes, they are taking cars to space at some point in time, and it looked like in this next one, Fast 9, they had a car that they dropped off and like shot up towards space with rockets and spacesuits and stuff. So that's been the joke for years as to where does the Fast and the Furious go next. Well, they're going to space. But I don't think anybody ever really expected them to go to fucking space. But that's what they're doing, apparently. They're taking this shit to space. And I couldn't be more pleased. I think that's awesome. It's great that they're going to space. I think that's going to be a great time. I do wonder, are we going to get a full, like, is the last one, are we going to get an extended period of time, like sci-fi in space, Fast and the Furious? That's what I'm wondering. I don't know, as much as we laugh about it and we make jokes, I don't know if the Fast and the Furious really lends itself to that type of film, but why not? I mean, they've done all kinds of other shit. Why new frontier? Let's go for it. So I'm interested to see where this series will go when they have a clear vision of where they're headed for like 3 movies for an overarching storyline. I think that could be interesting. I have a feeling that we're going to get cliffhangers in the next 2 films until the final one. And, it'll be nice to see this saga, if you will, that who the fuck ever thought that Fast and the Furious was going to end up with 11 movies, 9 up to this point, but we'll have 11 more, or 11 movies total. Whoever thought that? But it'll be nice to see this saga, that these characters we've been following all these years, come to an end. I'll be interested to see, because knowing that will be their last movie, the 11th one, I feel like, they are very well aware that these movies are over the top and huge. So I feel like they just know that they've got to do something big. They've got to just be just huge. And I wonder what they're going to do. They've already teased space in the 9th one, so we got 2 more movies after that. So I'm curious to see where they go. I think this is good. It doesn't sound like they're rushing it. That's a good thing too. Justin Lin said, it's not coming out this year. We're not shooting it this year. We need time with it. And that's good. These are, like I said, they're throwaway lughead movies, but they are really entertaining and fun. And Justin Lin has been in charge of quite a few of them up to this point, and he's done a good job. So as far as like my summer popcorn over the top ridiculous fun, Fast and the Furious is about as good as you get. So I'm looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to see what they're going to do when they have a clear trajectory. And I think if their current track record is anything to say for at least the past 4 films, I think that they're on the right track and they know what they're doing. And they'll at least be entertaining good times. So, speaking of over-the-top things, we're going to jump right into this next one, which is one that is a little bit more near and dear to my heart than Fast and the Furious. And I was actually thinking of this just the other day, if this movie was going to actually be coming or not. And apparently it is. And not only is it coming, they found their director and they've got a vision of sorts. And I am talking about The Meg 2. And apparently they have found their director for The Meg 2. Ben Wheatley, the director behind Kill List, High Rise, Free Fire, and the upcoming In the Earth, will next helm The Meg 2, the sequel to the 2018 giant shark movie starring Jason Statham and directed by John Turteltaub. While we still don't know a lot about The Meg 2, in a recent interview, Wheatley talked about the fact that while he may be a new director taking over a franchise, he doesn't plan to drastically change things from the first film. That said, Wheatley does promise some insanely large action. Haha. large action. A lot of it's representing the Meg and trying to make sure it's a great Meg film, Wheatley said. And yes, you can see from the movies I've made, they're not necessarily, it's not when you go to Doctor Who, I don't completely change it because I wanted to do it. That's a really weird sentence, but I get what he's saying. He's known for some pretty ultra-violent stuff, is my understanding, and he's not coming in here to bring his style to it because that's not what this is, even though it kind of is. We'll talk about that in a minute, though. Anyway, moving on. I don't want to necessarily make it something completely different that nobody recognized, So there's that element of back and forth. It's an opportunity to do action on such an insanely large scale that it's unbelievable, Wheatley said. From doing Free Fire, which was, I thought, My Christmas came at once. What? I thought it was all my Christmases came at once in terms of action. This is just unbelievable. And just doing the storyboards for it, just thinking of going, it's just, I feel a heavy responsibility for it to make sure that it kind of delivers on all of that to all the big shark fans out there. They quoted him literally word for word in this article, stutter for stutter. They didn't edit any of it, and it's really difficult to read. But anyway, we don't know the plot details about the Meg 2 just yet. However, the Meg was based on a book by Steve Alten, and Alten also wrote a sequel novel called The Trench. So there's a good chance Wheatley and company will be drawing on that for inspiration. Okay. The reason I said that this one is a bit near and dear to my heart is because I've read the Meg books, all of them except for the last one, I believe it is. I think there's one more I haven't read, but I've read The Trench. I've read the Meg, I've read The Trench, Primal Waters. I can't remember. I've read four or five Meg books. There's a lot of them. The Meg, the first one, and especially the second one, all of them are really fucking graphic. The PG-13 Meg movie we got, I did enjoy. I thought it was perfect for Jason Statham, kind of an over-the-top, just kind of ridiculous movie. The book is over-the-top at times as well, but especially the original ending of the first book that the movie's based on is, you think the movie's over the top? The end of the movie of the book is so much more over the top than the movie. In the movie, I think he took his little submarine and cut the shark open, and then a bunch of other sharks attacked it, and it shot out of the water, and he shoved a thing in its eye or something like that. It was over the top. It was kind of neat and all that. In the movie, or in the book, he takes his submarine and turbo boosts it straight at the Meg as the Meg tries to eat him, and goes down its fucking throat into its stomach, gets out of his submarine, crawls around inside this huge shark's organs while it's still swimming around trying to kill people and things, takes a Meg shark tooth that he had, a fossil that he carried around with him, and cuts the fucking Meg's heart out with a Meg tooth. And then, as it's sinking, he cuts himself and fights his way out of this creature's mouth, almost dying in the process with stomach acid on him and all kinds of stuff. And it's he's burning and fucked up and everything, but he gets out. Jonas Taylor, the character that Jason Statham plays in the book, or in the movie and the book, he's in all the books, at least up to the point that I'm at. It even goes all the way to where his kids are in the books. They start taking more center stage in the books, but he's still there. But yeah, it's fucking crazy. He runs a fucking submarine down that fucker's mouth and cuts its goddamn heart out with a Meg tooth and then swims out of it. It's insane. The book is extremely graphic. It has some very graphic scenes. They're in graphic detail, very bloody. It's a rated R book, if you will. So I was surprised when the movie was only PG-13. And that is one instance when I thought that the movie could have really benefited from some more gore. Because some of the ways that he describes the people being killed by this shark from their perspective is really fucked up. But this was one movie I think could have probably benefited from that R rating. So initially when hearing that this guy, Wheatley, is taking over as the director for the Meg 2, which is even more graphic, by the way, I thought, okay, well, he has a history of those types of movies. I think one of the biggest complaints, if you want to call it that, or suggestions people had about the first one was, we wish it was rated R, more gore. And maybe they're going that way. But then hearing his comments, it sounds like that's not the case. They're not going to be going that route. They're going to be keeping it more in line with that PG-13 family-ish friendly vibe that they had going with the first one. And, I'm not going to say I'm disappointed. I do kind of want to see those scenes from the books that I read and loved. But I get it. It's fine. I mean, I thought the first Meg was a good time. It's a dumb movie. It's dumb fun, but it was really entertaining. If you go into it with the right mindset and just kind of let go and know that I'm here to see a big ass shark eating little people with Jason Statham riding it like a goddamn unicorn, and they end up in the fucking air shoving shit into his eyeballs. That's a good time. You can definitely have a good time with that movie. So if they can just replicate that with the Meg 2, I'm cool with that. How much now? Because they followed the book somewhat, I guess more or less in the first movie. I do wonder how much they're going to follow the book in the second one, because the second book does take quite a turn, and it is about the Meg, but it's also about other creatures, other prehistoric creatures that come up from the depths of the Mariana Trench and where the Meg was. And there's like a deep sea station with like some murder and all kinds of stuff like that. So I do wonder, are they going to incorporate all of that into it? It is quite, when I see book series like this that, start out as one thing and they make a movie, and then the sequel book is like really different, maybe not totally different in tone, but just kind of like really different story-wise than the original. Sometimes I see the second movie kind of veers away from that. I do wonder, which way are they going to go? They're going to follow the insanity that happens in the trench, because the trench was pretty insane, and it could make a great movie. I think it was kind of like half Abyss, half like Jaws on crack. It's half Jurassic Park. There's lots of crazy shit going on in that book, but I'd love to see it. But as at this point, we don't know what we're going to see. But I based on these comments, I'm almost willing to bet a paycheck that this movie is going to be rated PG-13. They're not going to try and take it too far from that. But you know what? They proved with the first one you can still have a fun shark flick that is PG-13. I think we're always going to want that R rating. I'd honestly be happy with if they released a PG-13 version, but they shot an R-rated version. That happens a lot with movies, especially with all these CG characters and the shark and all that. And then when it came out on home media or digital or whatever, there was a R-rated director's cut. We might get that from this guy. John Turteltaub, the original director, hasn't been known for making a lot of like hard R movies, but this guy is. So I do wonder if maybe he might make that movie but release the other one until home media. We might get that R-rated one we're looking for. That'd be that happy medium. I'd be willing to roll with that. So, I mean, maybe we'll get that. We'll just have to wait. It doesn't even look like they've started filming this thing yet, but I'm just happy to see that it is at least coming. And I'm really looking forward to it because I really enjoyed the Meg movie, and I really, really am a big fan of the Meg books. So I'm happy to see where they're going to take this story in that cinematic universe from here. So speaking of aquatic creatures in film, we're going from big-ass sharks to octopi. You know what? That's the big question everybody always wonders. Is it octopusses or octopi? I don't know. We're talking about some octopus, and we're talking about Spider-Man. So we are, of course, talking about Doc Ock. And Doc Ock from Spider-Man 2, the Sam Raimi Spider-Man 2, is apparently returning in the new forthcoming Spider-Man No Way Home with Tom Holland. Spider-Man No Way Home hasn't been very good at keeping the exciting secrets of the web-slinging sequel. Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield are rumored to be returning as their respective versions of Spider-Man alongside Marvel Cinematic Universe's webhead Tom Holland. But along with the multiple Spider-Men, there have been reports of Jamie Foxx and Alfred Molina are reprising their villainous roles as Electro and Doc Ock, and one of them has finally confirmed their return. Guess which one? Alfred Molina confirmed that he will indeed be back as Dr. Otto Octavius in Spider-Man Far From Home. That's a typo. That should say No Way Home. That's not me. That's the article. The actor said, when we were shooting it, we were all under orders not to talk about it because it was supposed to be some great big secret. But it's all over the internet. I actually described myself as the worst kept secret in Hollywood. Variety got the confirmation from Alfred Molina in a recent interview. Though he was excited to return to the role, he acknowledged one major concern that he had about returning to a role he played nearly 20 years earlier. Molina said, it was very interesting going back after 17 years to play the same role, given that in the intervening years, I have 2 chins, a waddle, crow's feet, and a slightly dodgy lower back. Molina expressed his concern to director John Watts, who helmed the previous Spider-Man movie set in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Watts reminded Molina about the digital de-aging that was done with the likes of Robert Downey Jr. in Captain America Civil War and Samuel L. Jackson in Captain Marvel, but that didn't entirely wash away the actor's concerns. Molina mentioned the Irishman de-aging on Robert De Niro and one aspect that didn't quite work. They made Robert De Niro's face look younger, but when he was fighting, he looked like an older guy. He looked like an old guy. That's what worried me about doing it again. I don't have the same physicality I had 17 years ago, but again, technology came to the rescue, because Molina said he quickly realized it's the tentacles that do all the work. The arms are doing all the killing and smashing and breaking. That means we'll be getting the full-blown villainous version of Doc Ock from Spider-Man 2. In fact, Molina has revealed exactly when Spider-Man Far From Home, once again a typo, should have been No Way Home, catches back up with Doc Ock. Whatever happens in the sequel, Alfred Molina will be seen in the climactic moment of Spider-Man 2 when his unstable experimental fusion reactor threatens to destroy New York City and Peter Parker convinces him to override the mechanical arms that have driven him mad and stop the machine. Perhaps this moment will be interrupted, never giving Doc Ock his moment of redemption and keeping him as a villain. Spider-Man No Way Home, yep, right that time, is slated to hit theaters on December 17th, 2021. I'm really happy about this because Spider-Man 2, in my opinion, was the best Spider-Man movie so far. That I know a lot of people say that, and it's kind of cliche, but it really was. That was such a good fucking movie. And Alfred Molina as Doc Ock was really good. He was a great villain. So I'm happy to see him come back. Like he said, they keep on. There's so many. This is like the worst kept secret in the world. This movie is clearly going to be dipping its toes in that whole Spider-Verse thing, and we're going to see all these different ones with like Tobey Maguire, Andrew Garfield, and Jamie Foxx is probably going to come back. All these people they're talking about, everybody knows it's going to happen. Just stop. It's okay. Just go ahead and tell us. Let us revel in it. Do some press tours with your people. These are not going to be big reveals when they happen in the movie because everybody's expecting it at this point. Just instead, let us wonder how you're going to utilize these characters instead of just that they're there. We know they're there at this point. It's hard to hide these kind of things in the world that we live in now. So just give up, MCU. Just let us know. Just admit it, and let's go from there, and let's be excited about the movie. But I'm excited to see that this character's coming back. Whether the movie will be any good or not, I don't know. It'll probably be entertaining. At least the Spider-Man movies in the MCU, the 2 that have come so far, have at least been that. Whether they're amazing or not, up for debate. Tom Holland's pretty good, and the MCU as a whole is kind of losing some steam and kind of lost its way, in my opinion. I haven't been shy about saying that. We'll see where it's going to go, but I don't know. Will this movie be good? Is it going to be a bunch of nostalgia and that's it? Because they're bringing back all these other Spider-Man and all that, and people really were into the whole Spider-Verse thing with Into the Spider-Verse and everything. Who knows? Probably, but that doesn't mean it couldn't be a good time. I mean, nostalgia. If it's just nostalgia for nostalgia's sake, it'll only get them so far, but it could still be fun. I see the Spider-Verse thing almost kind of like the Flashpoint in the DC universe. It's an opportunity for them to change things. Whether they're going to do that or not, I don't know. We'll see. I know that they're different. One's time manipulation and one's like universes, but you know what I mean. They can kind of change some things with people and yada yada. I'm not going to get into all that, but I'm looking forward to this. Seeing him come back. He was one of the best villains in. Probably he was the best villain. Willem Dafoe was really good as the Goblin, but let's be real. Doc Ock was the standout villain in that original Spider-Man trilogy. Something that's said here at the end of the story here is that it's hitting theaters December 17th, 2021. I don't know what all goes into them holding that date, but in the year of 2021, I would be very surprised if December 17th, 2021, I'm sitting there watching Spider-Man No Way Home. I would be, whenever that movie inevitably gets delayed, I am almost 100% sure it will, if nothing else, not because of the pandemic and all that, but because of the whole Sony Netflix deal. Because everything that is going to Netflix with the Sony Netflix deal, which Sony is making this film and owns it, is that's going only to Netflix and nowhere else, starts on January 1st, 2022, like, what, 2 weeks, week and a half, 2 weeks after this movie is supposed to come out. So I could believe that Netflix is going to be like, hey, Sony, buddy, pal, old chum, let's kick that out just a few weeks. Just a few weeks, just kick it out. And then we'll, then it'll be ours. That'll keep it out of the hands of Disney Plus, and that'll be a big win for Netflix. So when this movie comes out to home media, they'll be able to say, hey, the only place you can watch it is here on Netflix, not that Disney Plus thing. And the Venom also, which I know it's unrelated, but Venom, owned by Sony as well, coming out, I think, a month or whatever before this movie. I wouldn't be surprised if both of them get kicked out. But that was another story on another show, and we've already been over that. I'm looking forward to Doc Ock coming back. I think it could be good depending on how they do it, as long as they don't just lean totally on nostalgia of the previous films. We will see, but we're going to find out. If not on December 17th, 2021, it will be at least around that time, around the beginning of this coming year, the end of this year, beginning of next year. We're going to find out if this whole live-action Spider-Verse thing that is all but confirmed is actually going to pay off. We're talking about superheroes. Per usual, it seems like we're talking about superheroes every week. We're talking about another superhero. But this is a superhero that is quite a bit different from other superheroes that you may be used to. This is a superhero that most of you have probably heard of, but maybe not all of you have seen. But I think that you're going to get a new big budget introduction to this guy. It's a flick or a series that I was really into when I was younger, and yeah, kind of unorthodox, but I loved it. Until this day, I love it, no matter how corny it is. And surprisingly enough, whether it'll be good or not, I don't know. Let's jump into it, talk about it. But I'm talking about the Toxic Avenger is getting a big budget remake, and they found their new Toxie already. Deadline is reporting the news that the Toxic Avenger reboot cast will now include Jacob Tremblay. He's not Toxic Avenger. There's no word on who Tremblay is playing just yet, but he joins Peter Dinklage, who is playing the title character. Macon Blair, who co-wrote and starred in Blue Ruin, is directing the pick, which is based on the 1984 cult classic of the same name. This version of the Toxic Avenger will be much more well-budgeted affair than any other film in the series, all of which have been ultra-low-budget Z-grade movies known for their cheapness. Trauma flicks. In the new take on the story, when a struggling everyman is pushed into a vat of toxic waste, he is transformed into a mutant freak who must go from shunned outcast to underdog hero as he races to save his son, his friends, and his community from the forces of corruption and greed. Lloyd Kaufman and Michael Hers, who co-directed the original movie, are producing the reboot. Megan Blair knows trauma better than I do, Kaufman previously said. He's seen everything. He's seen the cartoon. He's seen the Halloween special. He's seen everything. And he loves our movies like Trauma's War and Terror Farmer. I've read the script and it's better than the original, and I leave it to him. If I'm called upon, I'd be happy to jump in. I learned on the musical to leave the creative to the creative. I learned to let them ask if they want me. I'm there. There's a lot to look at here, in my opinion. The Toxic Avenger, of all characters, is getting a big budget remake, a Hollywood flick. I don't know how I feel about that, because part of the charm of the Toxic Avenger is the fact that it is so just cheap and goofy and Z-grade. That's just one of the things that really works about the Toxic Avenger. It's so over the top and ridiculous. So the only way that I see this thing working is if they go that route. And I don't know what route they're going to go. If they're going to have it, I don't think they're going to make it a serious movie. I mean, the Toxic Avenger himself is just not a serious character. But, like, what direction? Are they going to go full-on goofy? Because Trauma is not afraid. The Trauma films, that's the studio, the independent studio that makes this movie and all the other Trauma films. They are not afraid to do pretty much anything. They give no shits. They will be as ridiculous and just crazy out there as they need to be to get their movie made. And watch the original 84 Toxic Avenger and you'll see what I'm talking about. I mean, there's like a part where the bad guys, which is just some like high school students, I think, are driving down the street and they're just randomly running over people, and in their glove compartment they have like a chart of how many points some of the people are worth. Like, it's an old woman with a walker is worth 10 points, a little kid is worth like 15 points, shit like that. It's fucking crazy. And like the main character, the Toxic Avenger, starts out as this little nerdy guy, and one day one of the women at the workout place he works at as a janitor convinces him to go, this is like a practical joke, to go to this locker room and dress up in a tutu, like a ballerina tutu, but like really goofy with just like that, and to come in there and she's gonna like, fuck him or kiss him or something, I don't know. So he goes in there and everybody's in there waiting to laugh, and she tells him to close his eyes, and they've got a goat in there, and he starts making out with this goat with his eyes closed thinking it's her. And then everybody starts laughing at him. He runs off and he falls out of a window and lands in a vat of toxic waste. That's the movie they're remaking. That's the Toxic Avenger. And from there he goes on to avenge things. Just kill criminals indiscriminately pretty much. And I mean, the sequels go real out there. One time, in one of the sequels, he goes to Japan, and the way he gets there is he what's the surfboards with like the sail on them? The sailing surfboards. He rides that all the way to China. One of them, he becomes a tax collector because he's down on his luck, and I think he's like killed all the criminals or something like that. But yeah, this is the series that we're getting. Also, the original Toxic Avenger was like ultra violent. It was all like low budget, but it was really fucking violent. All of them have been really fucking violent. So I'm wondering which way they're going to go. And Peter Dinklage is a great actor, and I don't know. I'm picturing Peter Dinklage in that makeup, and I don't think I'm supposed to laugh, but that's got to be part of the joke, man. I don't recall the Toxic Avenger having a son. They mentioned in this article that he does. I'm assuming that's who Jacob Tremblay's going to be. I don't know. It's an adaptation. It's an update. I'm okay with them changing things, but they gotta, like I say with all adaptations, you gotta retain the spirit of the original. If they do that, they retain that spirit and that crazy, zany, over-the-top, just batshit crazy nature of the original film, I'll be on board. So I can't say that I'm like super excited for this yet, especially since it hasn't been made as of yet, but I am very interested. I'm interested to see more. I do like that Lloyd Kaufman, he's the CEO or whatever of Trauma Films, and he's very outspoken. If Lloyd Kaufman doesn't like something, he'll let you know. And he's sitting here saying, I like this. This is good. It gets my blessing. He's producing, and I like how he's saying he's not gonna like stick his nose in it. If they want his help, they'll ask, and he'll be there to help. But he's not gonna like push anything. That's good. Let the creative people do their creative thing. So I think they're making all the right moves here, or at least possibly the right moves. They've got a lot of good possible stuff here, but this is all real early. But I just never thought I would see them remaking the Toxic Avenger, of all things, in Hollywood. It's like the most un-Hollywood movie there ever fucking was, but they're making it, and we're getting it. So if you've never seen the Toxic Avenger, I strongly recommend going and checking out that tour de force. It's something else. It's an interesting one for sure. But I'm going to keep my ear to the ground on this and hopefully hear more about it in the coming year, and maybe get a trailer and see kind of like the vibe they're going for. And I'm hoping that I start getting more and more excited about it, and this pays off. Now, speaking of big budget remakes or reimaginings and just Hollywood spending a shit ton of money, we're going to look at a series that it is one of my favorite, really it is my favorite film franchise of all time. And let's just jump right into The Lord of the Rings. I think we all know at this point that Amazon purchased the rights to The Lord of the Rings a while back, and they are developing a TV show. But I don't think any of us ever expected this TV show to cost more than the original fucking trilogy cost as a whole. But it did. It was previously reported that Amazon's Lord of the Rings TV series was going to cost somewhere around $500 million for multiple seasons. It turns out that figure was incorrect, because a new report reveals that Amazon is set to spend $465 million for one season alone. That means the budget for the highly anticipated series is going to get even bigger in seasons to come. Amazon plunked down $250 million for the rights to J.R.R. Tolkien's fantasy series, and there was some speculation that the entire series could end up costing somewhere close to $1 billion. Now we have a better idea of how much money Amazon is throwing at this thing. Courtesy of THR, they report that Amazon will spend roughly 650 million New Zealand dollars, which is 465 million US dollars, for the first season of the show. It's unclear if the 465 million total is factoring in the 250 million dollars they spent on the rights, but we just don't know. But overall, it's going to cost them $465 million. This is fantastic. It really is. This will be the largest television series ever made, said Stuart Nash, New Zealand's Minister for Economic Development and Tourism. It was previously revealed that Amazon was locked into at least 5 seasons of the show. Holy shit, that's a lot of money. As well as a spin-off, and this new report confirms that plans are in place to shoot all 5 seasons in New Zealand. The Lord of the Rings TV show is set thousands of years before the events of J.R.R. Tolkien's The Hobbit and The Lord of the Rings, and will take viewers back to an era in which great powers were forged, kingdoms rose to glory and fell to ruin, unlikely heroes were tested, hope hung by the finest of threads, and the greatest villain that ever flowed from Tolkien's pen threatened to cover all the world in darkness. There's no official premiere date just yet, but the first season of the series is expected to arrive sometime this year. I've got mixed feelings on this one, man. The Lord of the Rings series, I've never made it a secret, is the original trilogy is my favorite film of all time. Yes, I do consider all 3 of them one big-ass movie. So hearing that there's going to be a high-dollar or high-production TV show coming does excite me. I'm like, yeah, cool, awesome. And the fact that they're spending $465 million fucking dollars on one season, and they've got 5 more seasons coming that are at least going to spend that is insane. So there's going to be a shit ton of money thrown at this thing. It's probably going to look fantastic. It's probably going to look better than the original series did, or original movies. But there's a lot of other stuff going on here that's not in this article. We've been talking about the the actual stories that they're telling. The time period they picked, I think, is really cool. I think that's a good idea instead of rehashing this same Lord of the Rings story that we've all seen, heard, and we know this. We know what's going on there. We don't need to see that again. So going back to, a previous age is a good idea. There's a lot of stuff. There's a lot of history in Middle Earth, and I'm just wondering what they're going to do, though. They're going to set us up with new characters and everything. It might work out fantastic, but I've heard this whole thing, and we've read quite a bit that this show is going to try and go more in the direction of Game of Thrones because of the popularity of Game of Thrones, meaning that they're going to try and have this more adult-oriented Lord of the Rings. That's not what Lord of the Rings is, and they're going to go in other words, they're going to have a lot of fucking. They're going to have elves and humans fucking, and it's going to be graphic, and they're going to show all that. Now, me, myself, I enjoy Game of Thrones. I love Lord of the Rings. I like a naked body as much as the next one. I enjoy all that stuff. I have no problem with sex being depicted in shows or on film or anywhere. It's a natural act. It's fine. It's very sensual. I like all that stuff. I like sex. I like sex in film. But it's not Lord of the Rings. It's not Lord of the Rings. It just isn't. It'd be like if you put sex in Star Wars. It just doesn't fit. That's not what Star Wars is about. That's not what Lord of the Rings is about. Why are you trying to make Lord of the Rings Game of Thrones? I don't get it. Don't make Lord of the Rings Game of Thrones. Make Lord of the Rings Lord of the fucking Rings. Actually, they shouldn't even be called Lord of the Rings. They're just doing that for name recognition. Make it Middle Earth or whatever. Going to Middle Earth. Middle Earth and its lore is not about that. That's not what it's about. You want to make it more violent? Okay, fine. That fits. I can get down with that. But all the sexy stuff, that's not ever been what Lord of the Rings was. So I have a big issue with that if they're going to go down that road. And spending $465 fucking million, that part does make me happy because that does mean at least we're going to see a lot of that. That means they're going all in, which, I mean, they spend a shit ton of money for this series, so for the rights. So I guess they are just like, we're betting the farm on this one. I'm sure the show will be popular, but really, that $465 million is only going to get them so far. How pretty it is and all that stuff will only get them so far. They're going to need some really interesting, great stories. There are interesting, great stories to be had in Middle-earth from those previous ages. Whether they tell them in compelling ways, we don't know. You can throw all the money you want at a turd script, and it's still a fucking turd script. I mean, is what it is. If you're just trying to emulate Game of Thrones, don't make a Lord of the Rings show. Make a fucking Game of Thrones show. I'm sure people would watch it. Don't make Lord of the Rings. So, because I do feel like a lot of the Lord of the Rings purists out there will get irritated by the fact that they try and deviate too much from the tone of not just the original movies, but the books, the actual tone of of Middle Earth, of Tolkien's work. That's just not what it was. So, I don't know. I know that this story is more about the money and how much it's going to cost. And holy crap, it's the most expensive show ever made or whatever. By the way, they said that $465 million is 5 times the amount of Season 8, which I think was the most expensive season of Game of Thrones. So they ain't playing with this series, that's for sure. They're not playing with the money side of things, at least. We'll see how the narrative works out. But I am looking forward to it. I'm once again, hearing these things, I'm just kind of, I'm interested, I'm excited because I'm such a huge Lord of the Rings fan, but I am worried, I won't lie. There's some worrying aspects surrounding this project. I just don't know enough yet. I want to see something about it. I've not seen the first still frame, and this thing's supposed to come out this year, according to this report. So I've not seen the first picture. They may be out there, but I haven't seen them. No trailer for sure. So I'm very curious as to what this show is going to be, besides just Lord of the Rings. How faithful to the Lord of the Rings, not just the mythos, but the tone of the books or the movies, is it going to be? Because the movies were very faithful to it. Those were some extremely faithful adaptations. Sure, they were missing a couple of things, and when we get over to The Hobbit, they added a lot of things, but they were very faithful, the first 3 movies. So I'm praying, especially spending that much money. They've got so much opportunity there to make something amazing. I'm really hoping and praying that they do follow through with that and use this. I hope they got Tolkien fans making this movie. People that are truly invested in it and care about Tolkien and his work, and not just people that say, ooh, man, Game of Thrones made a lot of money on HBO. You know what we need to make? We need to make Lord of the Rings. That's got name recognition too. We can make bank, make some big money for that. If they're doing that, it's not going to work out good for them. But we'll see this year. I'm sure we'll be getting some type of media or something talking about Lord of the Rings, the show. They've got all the parts they need to make something great here. Just don't fuck it up narratively, okay, Amazon? Just take that advice. That's some free advice for you. Just take that and please, for the love of God, make a good fucking show. Don't fuck up Lord of the Rings. Please don't fuck up Lord of the Rings. We're going to jump into The Predator, one of my favorite series from back in the day. Predator's had some ups, Predator's had some downs, and right now the Predator's in the middle of an up or down. It depends on which way it goes, and that's because the Predator, the original Predator creators, are suing Disney. If you didn't know, Disney owns the rights to Predator now since they purchased 20th Century Fox a couple years ago. A wrench might have just been thrown into the plans for 20th Century Studios' new Predator movie from Dan Trachtenberg. Jim and John Thomas, seeking to exploit the copyright law which allows authors to cancel transfers after a specific period of time, namely 35 years, which is roughly the time since Predator's 1987 release, are suing Disney to reclaim the rights to Predator. We're going to come back to it, but I don't like this word exploit they put in there. They're just exercising their right. But anyway, moving on. The copyright law provision means that many studios, Disney and 20th Century Studios included, could lose franchise rights to many classic 1980s movies per The Hollywood Reporter. But the Thomas brothers are going up against the biggest corporate behemoth in the entertainment industry. So, of course, Disney's 20th Century Studios, I really have a really hard time saying 20th Century Studios because it's 20th Century Fox, but they hated Fox so much that they dropped the Fox. They got rid of everything Fox, and it's just studios, and it just throws me off. But anyway, has filed its own suit against the Thomas brothers in an attempt to retain the Predator rights. According to the Thomas complaint, the effective termination date for their screenplay, originally titled Hunters, is this Saturday, April 17th. This is actually last Saturday, as of me reporting this. Jim and John Thomas say they served a termination notice back in 2016 and heard no objection for 4.5 years. Then, in early January 2021, defendants' counsel unexpectedly contacted plaintiffs' counsel, contesting the termination notice as supposedly untimely, based on a theory that the 1986 grant of the screenplay underlying their Predator film allegedly qualified for the special delayed termination time intended for book publication grants, and the Thomases stated in their complaint. So the Thomas brothers served alternative notice of termination with later dates. Now the brothers are seeking declaratory relief, which means they are seeking an official declaration regarding the status of the issue. It's pretty much saying that Disney is trying to say, no, we're not going to give you the rights back. There's a whole lot of legal. The rest of this article is just a bunch of legal jargon going back and forth about, them saying, hey, this is the law. The law says after 35 or after 30 years, we can take our property back. And we said something to you 4.5 years ago, probably 5 years at this point, and you guys didn't say anything until here recently, when all of a sudden, who would have thunk it? Disney's deciding that they want to make a Predator movie now, and it's actually going in. It's in pre-production. I don't think they've started shooting yet. They may have, but it was coming up on time to start filming. If they've not started filming, they're going to start filming soon. Like, there's a lot of stuff. It's like the Predator going back to the Western times, I believe, or maybe it's like early man, or there's like Indians in it and stuff like that. I know that. And there's like a female lead who's like an Indian or something like that. I don't know all the details, but Disney is working on their version of a Predator film. And that's when all of a sudden they said, oh shit, we got these guys who are trying to take it back. Anyway, the brothers are represented by Mark Toberoff, a bit of a specialist in copyright termination, who represented the Friday the 13th writer, which he won, and went up against Warner Brothers over the rights to Superman, which he lost. With this kind of David versus Goliath case, though, we can probably expect the House of Mouse to prevail. Now, that is the writer of this article's opinion. My opinion is, I have no fucking idea. I would not be surprised if Disney crushes these people. But this is the fucking Predator, and it's making news. I am no lover of Disney. I feel like they have been taking a lot of my favorite franchises, or just some really interesting franchises, and kind of sucking them dry. So when they got 20th Century Fox, which owned at least at the time, the Alien franchise and the Predator franchise, two of my favorite franchises, even though they've been done wrong here or there, I was worried because then they announced, oh, we're going to make Alien movies, we're going to make Predator movies. And I don't know, man. I feel like they're going to come out as these manufactured MCU-esque Predator and Disney movies, and that's not what Predator fans don't want. That. And the idea, well, I don't have it in front of me, so I can't spout out all the details on it. The new Predator film that they were working on, I don't have everything in front of me, but from what I heard about it, I was not super hyped about it. I didn't think about it and say, oh yeah, that sounds like a great idea, that'll be awesome. Nothing about it really excited me. There were actually some things about it that really did not excite me, went the opposite direction. So that part of me says, yeah, I think these Thomas brothers should win. This is their baby, let them take it back. Whether they will or not, I don't like how the article said it uses certain verbiage, and I don't like it how it says they're exploiting a copyright law. They're not exploiting a copyright law. Something that this article also left out is this law that they're using here. Now, once again, I don't have this part of the article in front of me, so don't quote me 100% on this, but I do know the basic is this law about getting your old rights back from people came from Disney. Like, they had something to do with creating this law, I'm assuming because some of their older properties maybe they lost and they wanted to get back from somebody else years later or something like that. I don't know exactly all the details, but I do know they had a hand in creating this law. So now it seems like something they created to kind of strong arm, like Disney does, is coming back to bite them in the ass, and someone else is trying to do the same thing using their own law. But it's Disney. I mean, they got a lot of fucking money, so they could crush them. And Predator is a very well-known franchise, and Disney doesn't like to be fucked with. So I do think if these guys win this case, holy shit, that will be something else. I know the whole Friday the 13th thing. That's why we haven't gotten another Friday the 13th, because the original creator of Friday the 13th won the rights back, like a few years back. He and apparently this guy, the lawyer they're using, represented him. I didn't know about the Superman thing. Superman's pretty old. I don't know who that'll go back to, but yeah, they could. I mean, Friday the 13th is not as big as Predator, at least not now. So that, I don't know. It's Disney though, man. Disney is just, they've fallen on some really, here lately, they've gotten a lot of bad press. I mean, but Disney's so big, they don't give a shit if they get bad press, because they're like, most people don't know. Fuck it, we don't care. So, but I do wonder how is, with more bad press, like big Disney picking on these little guys kind of situations is going to turn out to be that. I'm really interested to see how this works out. And I'm even more so interested to see that if the Thomas brothers do actually prevail and end up with the rights to the Predator back, or the Predator franchise back, what do they do with it? I mean, are they going to just take it to somebody else and sell it? Are they going to source out, temporary license kind of thing? What are they going to do with this? Are they going to control it and like have an ironclad fist on it, and maybe we'll get a better movie? I don't know. But this is an interesting story. Not a lot more developed on it as of yet. And these types of things usually they take a long time. But I do think it's kind of shitty that Disney just left these guys hanging for 4.5, 5 years, They did all what they're supposed to do, and Disney was just like, oh, well, whatever, we don't care about you, until it does mean something to Disney when they decide, oh, we want to make a shitty-ass Predator movie. Well, I shouldn't say shitty. I don't know if it'd be shitty, but we want to make a Predator movie now. Oh, well, we got to take care of these gnats over here and fly them away, so they just try and, drown them in litigation, too. I do wonder, though, if as long as they sue, because I know sometimes in court cases when something's going on about something, you can't do anything with whatever it is it's about. So I wonder if, since a suit has been, thrown out there about it, is Disney able, as long as this is in court, are they able to do anything with the Predator franchise? Are they able to continue forward with their Predator movie while this is going on? That'd be interesting, because, these guys could just hold out and just say, well, we'll just keep you in litigation forever, to where if you do keep the property, you'll never be able to use it. So, if these guys got the money to do it and they want to be dicks, they could. It's not really dicks. Who's the dick here? I don't know. We'll find out. But at the end of the day, right or wrong, I wouldn't mind seeing Disney not take a crack at Predator. It doesn't fit. I'm not excited about that prospect, honestly. But that's just a personal thing. Whether that's right or wrong, I don't know. But what I'm saying here, though, these guys have every right to at least petition to get their baby back. But also, as the article says, and as I said, the Disney has every right to contest that, and I'm sure that they will. So we'll follow up on this, or I'll follow up on this later on, in a couple of weeks, and see if we got any more developments, to see if this David and Goliath situation, how it pans out. I do know this, that if these guys don't win it, you'll hardly, unless you go looking for it, you're not going to find anything about it. They'll just get crushed by Disney and nobody will ever hear anything. They'll probably never work again. But if these guys win, if they beat Disney for the Predator, man, that'll be some news. People will hear about that shit. Now, jumping from one exotic creature to another very different exotic creature, and I am talking about the one and only exotic that there probably ever should be, and that is Joe Exotic, and how he is getting his own series. And not only is he getting a series, but they have found their lead for this series, and it's got an angry inch. According to Variety, John Cameron Mitchell is set to take on the role of Joe Exotic Scravelbuckle, I don't know how to pronounce his last name, in Joe Exotic, which is set to debut on NBC USA Network and Peacock simultaneously. Mitchell joins the already announced Kate McKinnon in the cast. The latter plays the infamous Carol Baskin in the story of a feud between two exotic animal keepers that descends into deadly territory. I'm thrilled to take on the role of this modern folk anti-hero, says Mitchell. Joe and I are the same age, and like him, I grew up queer in Texas, Oklahoma, and Kansas. So I feel like I know a little bit about this guy and his desperate attempts to conquer an inhospitable world. Stephen O'Neill, Executive Vice President of Casting and Talent Development for UCP, added, "It's clear that an over-the-top character like Joe needed someone very special. We are so excited to have John Cameron Mitchell, an adored icon of the LGBTQ community, take on this compelling role. His casting speaks to our ongoing vision of universal storytelling, and we can't wait for our audience to experience the show. It's unclear when production will begin on Joe Exotic, but the series will definitely get a lot of attention now that McKinnon and Mitchell are leading the cast." This isn't really a big story. I mean, they're doing a TV show, not a reality one, but like a drama TV show, a TV drama about Joe Exotic. I'm not going to really comment on it because it doesn't say much about like what direction they're going with that. Will this be straight up biopic, or will it be kind of like, heightened? Because Joe Exotic is a character, man. He's really out there. Regardless of what you think of him, he's an entertainer for damn sure. So one has to wonder, are they going to go kind of like a comedic route, or are they going to go more of a serious route? I don't know. It doesn't say here. We'll find out whenever this thing comes out later this year, I guess, or whenever. But I do want to comment on John Cameron Mitchell, because I've been a fan of John Cameron Mitchell's since like early 2000s, because he was in a movie that I absolutely adore. I think it was his first movie, It was the first movie he directed. He wrote and directed and starred in this crazy little movie with a fantastic soundtrack, by the way, called Hedwig and the Angry Inch. I fucking love this movie, and I've loved it. I saw it in the movie theaters all by myself. Not only did I go by myself, I was the only motherfucker in the theater. And it was crazy. I'd read about that it was coming like on the indie scene a long time ago. It came to theaters. I went to this little theater and saw it back in, it was like 2003, 4, maybe 5. I think it was like 2003. And this insane, just crazy movie about this he's German, I believe, a German kid who met a German little boy or young man who met a U.S. Army guy, and in order for him to get papers, he had to marry the guy so he could leave the country. But of course, gay marriage isn't a thing, so he went to get a sex change, and his sex change was botched. So he ended up with what he calls an angry inch, and he marries the guy. He comes home, and the guy leaves him. So then he's this, I get, would it be a transvestite? I'm not really sure. He's a man who only has an angry inch, who dresses up like a woman, goes by Hedwig. I think Hedwig was his actual name, and he joins a band. And then there's like his protege ends up being bigger than him or her. I don't know, never really clear which way they want you to go on that in that movie. And it's about him and his band following this other guy who used to be his protege or his lover, and his big huge rock tour. They follow him and they play it like Shoney's and stuff like that. It's a fucking crazy movie, and it has one of the best fucking soundtracks ever. Like, it's such an awesome soundtrack. You should check it out. It's a weird one, and there's some moments you'll be like, what the fuck is going on here? But this is one where, like, the music and everything, because it's not quite a musical, but it does have some musical moments-ish. It's a musical-ish. Absolutely make up for it. But even those weird moments, or you just kind of got to revel in the weirdness of it all. But it's also got some like kind of heartfelt moments that come out of nowhere too. It is overall a comedy, but it's kind of a tragedy at times too. And he's done some other stuff as well. One that this article did not mention was, I believe the movie was called School Bus or something like that. I think it was called School Bus. It was a movie. A high-quality Hollywood-esque movie about all these different characters, young adults in New York City, but it involved, like, straight-up hardcore sex acts in it. Like, it was shot like a regular movie, and that was his thing. He wanted to make a movie that had, hardcore porn, if you will, but make it like a regular movie. He did, and it's got some legit hardcore-ass fucking porn in it. But it's not porn. It doesn't seem nearly as, I hate to use this word, but sleazy as porn. Not that I think porn's sleazy, but you know what I mean. It seems like a real movie. It's just every now and then it's, oh, look, hey, they're doing, whoa, it showed all of that. It's an interesting movie, though. But Hedwig and the Angry Inch absolutely is so fucking good. Short Bus. I think it's called Short Bus. But whatever it is, just look up his filmography. The one that is a bus. It talks about a bus. It's not about a bus, but that's the name of the movie. But Hedwig and the Angry Inch and his performance and everything he did with that movie, I've always been a big fan of his, and it does all start with that film. And the performance he gave as Hedwig in that movie, yes, I could see him as Joe Exotic. I think that he's going to do a great job as Joe Exotic. This was some casting genius here that me myself would have never thought of. But once you think of it, because people are running around saying Nicolas Cage should do it, Nicolas Cage, I think that John Cameron Mitchell will be even better than Nicolas Cage. And I love me some crazy Nicolas Cage, but Joe Exotic is not just crazy. He had a lot of layers, or has a lot of layers, and he's a pretty out there guy. And I think John Cameron Mitchell definitely has the chops to do it. And he has that kind of, he does that weirdness really good. And I think he's going to be a great Joe Exotic, and I'm actually more excited about this than some of the other stories I've had tonight, just based on knowing he's there, and I think he's a great fit for this character. So Me, myself, personally, not a whole lot in this story. Just really wanted to kind of like talk about my love of Hedwig and the Angry Inch, and that John Cameron Mitchell is going to be playing this John Cameron Mitchell himself is a little bit over the top at times, so he's now playing an over the top character, and I think that is a perfect fit. Last story of the night is, once again, just like the last one, it's a bit of a shorter one, more of an informational story, if you will. And we're talking about the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. As I reported a few weeks ago, there is, and it's already shot and everything, a Texas Chainsaw Massacre, a new Texas Chainsaw Massacre sequel, not a reboot, not a redo, but it is going to be kind of retconning all the ones that came before it, with the exception of the original Texas Chainsaw Massacre. And much like Halloween did in 2018, it is going to be a direct sequel to the first film. And that's all we knew. That, and it was going to be made like, is going to take place years later, and it was going to be made much like they made that movie. Lots of in-camera stuff and all that. So we have found out what the title of this movie is going to be. Is it going to be the Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2? The Texas Chainsaw Massacre, whatever? I don't know. Well, I do know. We know, and we're about to find out. The Texas Chainsaw Massacre movie is officially rated R. Oh, yeah, it got its rating, too. And it also has its official title, which is Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Yes, that's right. They dropped the and just made it Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Because reasons, I guess. Anyway, moving on. The film is a direct sequel to the first film and is set to feature an older version of everyone's favorite skin-wearing cannibal, Leatherface. It's also bringing back the character of Sally Hardstay, the only survivor of the first film. Marilyn Burns, who played the character in the original film, died, unfortunately, in 2014. So Sally is now played by Mandy actress Olwen Foyer. Texas Chainsaw Massacre is directed by David Blue Garcia and stars Alyssa Fisher, Sarah Yarkin, Jacob Lattimore, and Mo Dunford. The production was not without its problems. Ryan and Andy Tohill, the team behind 2018's British-Irish film The Dig, were originally set to direct. However, after filming for 1 week, the Tohills walked away from the project due to creative differences and were replaced by Garcia. Producer Fed Alvarez has promised the film will embrace an old-school practical vibe, saying everything is classic, old-school gags, a lot of the approach that we had with The Evil Dead, the remake. Never VFX, to do everything on camera. It's very old-school approach to filmmaking. Vintage lenses, it's very similar to the original film. Texas Chainsaw Massacre will arrive sometime this year. I imagine so. If it's already been rated, I mean, they've already shot it, and in order for it to be rated, that means there has to be a final cut, because the MPAA will not, once you get rated, you can't make any changes to the movie and keep that same rating. So if it's rated, that means they have a final film. This movie is done. It's waiting for distribution at this point. So, I mean, we hadn't even seen a fucking trailer yet. What the hell? But anyway, the name, Texas Chainsaw Massacre, I feel like they're really following in the footsteps of Halloween 2018. Because, there was Halloween in 1978, and then 2018 made their new one that retconned all the sequels that came before it, and it was the one true Halloween sequel, and it was just called Halloween. So they're kind of doing the same thing there, except they dropped one of the words in the title, which is just kind of the in thing to do now. It's just a title, though. Okay. We know absolutely nothing about this movie except at least what they're saying. It sounds like they went about it the right way. I'm not a huge Texas Chainsaw Massacre fan. In fact, I'm not a Texas Chainsaw Massacre fan at all. I love horror movies, but the Texas Chainsaw Massacre just never did it for me, except for the fourth one, New Generation, with Renee Zellweger and Matthew McConaughey. Terrible fucking movie, but something about it I just love. It's a crazy, batshit, insane movie. Yeah, I like me some batshit insanity. But anyway, Texas Chainsaw Massacre, not a huge fan. It just always made me feel kind of dirty. But I kind of felt the same way about the original Halloween. I've never been a huge Halloween fan. I thought it was fine. It was good, but I was just not. I didn't lose my mind over Michael Myers and Halloween nearly as much as other people did. But I really enjoyed 2018's Halloween. It had its issues here or there, but I thought, wow, I'm having a good time with this movie. Much better. I got drugged to that movie. My wife made me go see that movie because she's a big Halloween fan. I was not. I was just kind of like, okay, fine. I planned on seeing it at some point, but I just didn't want to see it that night. Went, had a great time. So, hey, you never know. Maybe this one will do the same thing. Maybe I'm not a big, huge fan of the original, but... And also, after seeing that, when I went back and watched the original again, and I had a different take on it, now I enjoy the original Halloween a bit more. I still don't love it, but I do enjoy it a bit more than I did before. So go figure. Maybe the same thing will happen here. I don't know. The original Texas Chainsaw Massacre is fucking dirty as shit. It makes me feel really dirty, so probably not. Who knows? This one sounds like it's going to be dirty too. I do like the fact that they're making it like the same way that they did the older film. I think that's really cool, and it'll kind of make the two butt up against each other nicely. They won't seem like a huge departure, because even when you use VFX and filters and shit like that to make your movie look kind of grimy, it's not the same as having that old school film with lenses and, using straight up old school cameras. It's not the same look. I mean, look at something like the Rob Zombie one, 3 from Hell. They did that. It looks good, but when you compare it to like the movies it's trying to emulate, it looks... You can tell it was done digitally. It's something about it looks too clean. And so it sounds like they're doing it the right way here. So I can't say I'm very interested, but I will definitely be checking this out, if nothing else, just for the novelty of seeing them make a movie nowadays like they did in 1978. It's got that R rating. Texas Chainsaw Massacre movies have always been R, so that's good. We're not going down to like PG-13 or some shit like that. It sounds like this one might expand on the lore a little bit, since it's going to be years later. We'll find out. It says it's coming out this year. If the movie's done, when are we getting a trailer? Why do we not have a trailer already? What's going on? That kind of makes me wonder what's going on here. Why have we heard nothing? I mean, we've heard a few things, but we've heard bare minimum about this movie. I wonder if it's like a pandemic thing or what, but you think we would have gotten a trailer or some pictures or something. Nothing. This movie just came out of nowhere, and when it came out, when they announced it, it was like, oh yeah, by the way, it's already fucking done. So, but hey, if you're a big fan of the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, it sounds like these guys are making the movie for you, that they're making, they're not shitting all over it like some of the sequels I know did, and they're trying to make a legit the Texas Chainsaw Massacre sequel and something that falls in line with that original. They just hate the word "the" though, so it's just Texas Chainsaw Massacre. So what do you guys think? I hope you guys are looking forward to it. I'll check it out, and hopefully I will have a similar response to this as I did Halloween 2018. Alright guys, that will do it for the news this week. The only other thing movie related I have would be this week's releases, where there's nothing really coming out in the middle of the week this week, but we do have 3 movies coming out on Friday. And I think everything was trying to move out of the way of another movie that was supposed to come out last week, but actually came out this week, and that would be Mortal Kombat. The 2021 reboot of Mortal Kombat comes out this Friday here in the United States and a few other major territories. I think it will be everywhere, or everywhere it's going to be at that point. I'm pretty sure. Could be wrong, but it's getting a wide release on the 23rd, Friday, on HBO Max and in theaters. I was fortunate enough, last minute, to see this movie early. I got invited to see it early this past weekend. I saw it a couple of days ago, and I do have a review up on my channel. Please check that out. I think you'll enjoy it. If you're a Mortal Kombat fan, I think you're going to be happy here. It's not a perfect movie, but it is a fun movie. After that, we also have another potentially big movie, big in Japan for sure, Demon Slayer, the movie Mugen Train. I reported on this a month or so ago, that it was coming here in April. This is the highest grossing film in Japanese cinematic history. Now, Japan's a fairly small island, so I don't know what that really says, but this movie right here. This is an anime, by the way. It is the highest grossing film in their country ever. So there must be something to it. I do know that there's a TV show that is based on this movie, or vice versa, that you can watch on Netflix. I think it's got 1 or 2 seasons. I have not seen it. I don't really know anything about this show or movie. But yeah, that's coming. If this sounds like your kind of thing, if you're into anime, check out that TV show on Netflix. If you like it, then go check out this movie, Demon Slayer, the movie. And after that, we have a movie called Bloodthirsty. Not familiar with that one, but it's coming out on the 23rd as well. Lots of demons and blood and all that stuff this Friday. This is a dark Friday. Out of these right here that I know of, I don't know anything about Bloodthirsty. I'm going to recommend you check out Mortal Kombat, because that was a pretty fun movie. That's all we got. Looking forward to the next few weeks. It doesn't look like, as of right now, until about the middle of May, we have anything really big coming out. That could all change, though. They could push it out even further. But as of right now, for about the next month, there's not a whole lot of big stuff coming out. Mortal Kombat's that last big one. I think everybody wanted to get out of Mortal Kombat's way, because it's probably going to do fairly well. So if you don't go see it in theaters, though, get that HBO Max subscription, or at least like a trial subscription or something. Check the movie out. It's absolutely worth it. Now, per usual, I did have a couple of trailers I wanted to take a look at with you guys real quick. This trailer, it's kind of funny, because usually the trailers come out like a day after I do my podcast, but this trailer, which is for a pretty big movie this year, actually finally dropped right before I was recording, so I have not seen this trailer at all, and I really know absolutely nothing about this property. And we're going to be taking a look at Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings. Now, beyond hearing that name and knowing that it is a Marvel movie, an MCU movie, and it's coming this summer, I know fuck all nothing about this movie. So this is going to be eye-opening for me as well. I have no idea who Shang-Chi is. I have no idea what this legend is, or what the rings, however many of them, the 10 or whatever, however many rings there are. I know nothing about them at all. So, but yeah, let's learn something, and hopefully I'm blown away by this, and it's just, my next favorite MCU movie. We'll see. This is actually the first, I guess Black Widow technically would be, but this is, besides Black Widow that was supposed to come out forever and a day ago, this is the first MCU movie, newer MCU movie, that we've gotten a trailer for ever, for phase 4? I don't know. But hey, let's check it out without any further ado. So yeah, here we go with Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings. Okay. So I'm assuming this is like martial arts
to live your life.
centered.
Now you see me rise. And where did that get you?
This motherfucker whooping this kid's ass. Uh-oh.
Trained you.
Ooh.
So the most dangerous people in the world couldn't kill you.
So how popular is this character? I don't know anything about him.
It's time for you to take your place by my side.
Oh hey, there's those rings.
That's not going to happen.
What's his power? What's his superpower? Oh, that looks cool. That looks all like Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon.
You can't outrun who you really are.
Oh, this movie's all over the place. We got like high-tech stuff, old school back in the day stuff, Captain Marvel.
Who are you?
Was that like sign language for Shang-Chi? Ooh. Oh shit!
We make a good team.
All right. Well, yeah, that was okay. So that was Shang Tsung. Shang Tsung. Shang-Chi. That was Shang-Chi and the two-string or whatever. Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings. That's a mouthful is what that is. Okay, yeah, that didn't really tell me much. I mean, I guess it's got a martial arts vibe, which I don't mean that to sound any way, but the title kind of gave that away, in my opinion. But I do wonder, I don't know what this character's power is. Like, I don't really know anything more about Shang-Chi, except for he's like a martial arts master, and it did show like those rings on his arm like start to glow. I assume that's the 10 rings. If this was phase 3, I would probably say that in some way, shape, form, or fashion, those 10 rings are somehow tied to the Infinity Stones. But I don't think that's the case. Watch, that'll be it. And I'll be like, holy shit, I called it. It looked neat, I guess. I mean, I wasn't like blown away by it, but I didn't look at it and go, oh, this is terrible. It's got that new, the trailer had that new thing where they're like putting like that, like, orchestra versions or cinematic versions of like rap music kind of like to movies that doesn't like the music doesn't necessarily fit. They kind of like pseudo make it fit. I don't know what's going on there. Whether I didn't hate it, but I mean it was like that's not going to be in the movie. That I look at this movie and I'm like that song, this soundtrack is not in the movie. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, I don't know anything about Shang-Chi, and I'm sure there's somebody who's going to watch this and be like, how do you not know about Shang-Chi? I don't. That's why. I mean, but, you know, when Iron Man first started back in 2008, I didn't really know much about Iron Man either. I mean, he was a B-list character at that time. Don't hate. Don't throw anything. But it is what it is. He was not like the most popular character, and look what happened there. So maybe this guy will do that. I don't know. I noticed it looks like it's going to hop around in time a bit, and I do wonder if that's throughout the film, or is that going to kind of be like in the first 10 minutes they're going to have like a get you up to speed with this world that Shang-Chi inhabits, like, because it showed like some old back in the day like Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon looking kind of landscape going there, and it also showed like some war, like they were clearly, it was a period like feudal Japan or something maybe, or I don't know if it's Japanese or Chinese. I don't know that much about this character, but it was, you know, old way back in the day, and they were like fighting some creatures and riding some crazy looking CGI dogs and stuff, and it was clearly some type of battle going on, it showed. And then of course they had the nowadays stuff, so or the modern day. So I'm curious if all that stuff that it showed is going to all be condensed within like a few minutes, where they're giving somebody some type of backstory or something. Like it'll all be the first 10 minutes, and then the rest of the movie will be all today. Had like some characters showing up with like robot glowing mechanical blade arms and stuff. This movie was just all over the place. What the trailer was. I didn't dislike it. I was kind of like, I don't know what world this is. I don't know what this is about. But apparently this guy, he's probably like the kung fu master or whatever it is. I don't know. He's the 10 ring master, and he probably doesn't want that responsibility and pushes against it until the end, when he has to accept the rings and go all fucking badass on some people and whoop their asses. I don't know. Maybe they'll do something more compelling than that. It is Disney though, so who knows? We'll see. I don't hate it. I will see it. I think this one they said is coming to Disney Plus day and date. It's gonna probably be like that $30 thing though. I don't know how I feel about that. I can't confirm that 100% right now, but I think this one is one of those Disney Plus deals. Either way, I'll see the movie. It's a big movie, so I will see it. I'll review it, and hopefully, because this will kind of be our. I can't remember if they said Black Widow's coming out before or after this at this point, but this will be our. It will at least be our introduction into the current day MCU Phase 4. I know Black Widow comes out, but that's a prequel, so you know I don't know how much it's gonna have to do with the current Phase 4 of MCU besides introducing a new Black Widow. But yeah, Shang-Chi and the Legend of the 10 Ring. Man, I gotta read that thing every time. That's a long title. Maybe it just looks long. Maybe I'll warm up to it. I don't know. Didn't hate it. I liked it more than but I'm kind of lukewarm on it at this point. I mean, it looked neat. There was lots of neat imagery, but it really didn't. I mean, that was about it. Okay. Looking forward to it, I guess. We'll see here. And I think it comes out in June. This one may have gotten pushed out to like September. I could be wrong. Not sure. Whenever it comes out, though, as I said, I will check it out. And hopefully it's a good time. And we got one more trailer. This one, I'm really interested in, or I wouldn't be watching it. So obviously I am. But this is one that this is a show. I guess it's a show, more of an anthology, I suppose. A season. I think they call it a show because they break it up into episodes. But yeah. So I'm talking about David Fincher and somebody else's Love, Death, and Robots. Season 2, it's coming. It's made. We're getting it soon through Netflix. And I really, really liked Love, Death, and Robots season 1. I highly recommend checking it out. It had some highs and lows, but overall a lot more highs than lows. And it was a really interesting, just anthology show. Some very small, contained stories. Some of them were only like 6 or so minutes long. Some of them were 15 minutes long. Really worth your time, worth checking out. You can definitely check it all out in small bites. Each episode is I don't think any of them were more than 15 minutes long at the most, if that. But we've got a season 2 trailer that just popped off today, so I absolutely want to check that out. It's not a very long one. I doubt it's going to give us much. It's just going to kind of give us some glimpses of the art style, I'm sure. So here we go with Love, Death, and Robots season 2.
You okay?
Yeah.
Oh, that's cool.
Oh, man.
That's CGI, but it looks like kind of like a drawing. That's pretty neat. Like the artistic style drawing. It's like a realistic
You feel something,
cartoon.
don't you?
Wow. It's like a kind of door opens up out there. I figure it leads
I like that
to
jittery
some
style there. It looks kind of like
other
Coraline.
world trapped inside our own.
Looks like there's a lot more CGI this time around.
Why?
That shit looks really good, though.
I've been alive 218
Oh, damn, that looks
years.
really good.
I've seen too much.
I love that about this show, that kind of like weird humor like that. Oh, there, we got some actual animation too. Ooh, shit, somebody Kano'd his ass. Was that Michael B. Jordan? That looked like Michael B. Jordan. Yes.
It's just what I wanted.
May 14th. Fuck yeah. Oh, shit. And Volume 3? Oh, that was cool. It said, right there at the end, it said Volume 3 as well. So we're in 2022. Which, I mean, I guess that makes sense, but it'd be about a year later. Hell yeah. Okay, so yeah, Love, Death, and Robots Volume 2, I guess. And Volume 3 on the way. That was, honestly, I was more excited for that. Like, seeing that, I got more from that than I did the Shang-Chi trailer that we watched a minute ago. That was really cool. And I have no idea what any of them are going to be about. But just, I loved that show. Love, Death, and Robots was really fucking good. And that looked like they're really stepping it up again. If nothing else, it sure as hell looked really pretty, that's for sure. I didn't see as much animation, like hand animation or just more traditional animation this time as we got last time. There was a fair amount of CGI shows or episodes in the other one too. But there was some straight up animation, some really creative animation ones as well. And there was a few of them sprinkled in there, but it seemed like this is a lot more CGI. But the CGI, some of it looked like it was really artistic, like the one where it had the man and the woman sitting there. They were talking, or they looked like it was CGI, but it was CGI made to look like a hand-drawn cartoon to a degree. And I like that it just looked like a really interesting style, lots of different styles, and that's what I really enjoyed about the first one, all these different styles from different directors and different storytellers telling all these crazy stories, just stories about humanity, stories about, the future, about, little things, stories about civilizations and their freezers, crazy shit like that. But it was really, really interesting. So I think this one looks like it's going to follow suit with that as well. And I can't wait, man. May 14th, I think is what it said. That's right around the corner. That's less than a month. Hell yeah. I am absolutely going to watch that. And I typically don't review TV shows here on my channel. I'm doing the Falcon and the Winter Soldier right now, but I typically don't review shows. But that would be a show that I might actually review that, because it won't take long to watch. I mean, the first one, like I said, I think it's like 15 episodes or so, if that, and they're all like just a few minutes long. But yeah, it was really good. I like that trailer. That was an awesome trailer. It kind of gave you the tone of where the, if you're not familiar with the tone of the show previously, it kind of gave you an idea of what that tone is. Just kind of out there and like with that little tinge of humor, kind of dark humor at times, and just that humor like with the dog that just shit right there, and the robot just picked it up. That's that kind of weird off-kilter humor that the first episode or first season had. So this looks like more of the same, which is good in this case. When I say more of the same, I don't mean in a bad way. I mean more of what was great about the first one, the first season. So I'm really looking forward to it, and I'm excited to see what season 2 has in store for us. Alright guys, that will do it for episode 14 of the JARcast Movie Podcast. I really appreciate you guys checking it out. Check out my channel, Jacob Anders Reviews, and I have some new reviews coming up this week. As I mentioned earlier, my Mortal Kombat 2021 review just went live today. Please go check that out. It's a really entertaining flick, especially for fans. I also have a couple of new video game movie ranking videos coming that I've been working on for a while. Actually, I've been working on them for a while, but I've been saying they were coming for a while. They are finally coming this week, starting with the 10 worst video game movies ever made, which will be out this week. I also have a Mortal Kombat or 2021 Mortal Kombat spoiler talk, not really a review because I've already reviewed it, but just a spoiler video that I'm going to talk a lot about the things I didn't talk about in my main review. My comic book movie review series will be starting in the next couple of weeks after I get done with these couple of video game movie review ranking videos and more. There's not a lot of big movies coming out, but I do have some really interesting movies that have come my way, and I look forward to sharing those with you guys. Tomorrow night I will be, as I am every Wednesday night at 9 o'clock Central Time, streaming a game for Retro Wednesday. This week I am doing the DLC for Doom Eternal, The Ancient Gods. I'm doing part 1. I have both of them, not played any of them. I don't know how long it is. We'll at least be doing the first one, and maybe the following week we'll do the second one. I don't know. We'll see how that works out. But yes, Doom Eternal, The Ancient Gods is this week. So if you're a Doom fan, come hang out for a while and check that out. You can also find this podcast on all audio podcasting host sites. It's on all the major ones: Google, iTunes, Amazon, everything, pretty much Spotify, anywhere you're looking for it. If it isn't on one that you prefer and you would like it on there, just shoot me a message somewhere here on a YouTube or on Twitter at RedNeville2. Just send me a message saying where you'd like to see it, and I can get it on there. It's pretty easy to do that. But that's about all I got this week, guys. Hope you guys enjoyed the show. Thank you very much for hanging out, especially if you made it this far to the end of the show. I will be back here again next week, premiering this episode on my YouTube channel, Jacob Anders Reviews, at 9 o'clock Central Time for the episode 15 next week on Tuesday night. I don't think I said that. But beyond that, that is all I got. I really appreciate you guys hanging out. Hope you enjoyed the show, and I hope to see you again next week.